Penn State wrestling makes history, but I think everyone walked away from those semifinals feeling disappointed.
You are Locked On Nittany Lions, your daily podcast on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are locked on to Penn State Wrestling. Thank you so much for joining another live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions, the #1 Penn State sports podcast out there. My name is Zach Seyko, and I am your host of the show. Thank you for spending a late Friday night as Penn State finishes 3-4 in the semifinals. Not what was expected. Carter Starocci is going for history. This team overall is going down in history, for better or for worse. They had 10 All-Americans. That has only been done once by Minnesota in 2001. A little bit of mixed emotions. So was it overly disappointing? Can the scoring record actually still be broken? Because all 10 Penn State wrestlers are still alive and can finish as high as third, aside from Mitchell Mesenbrink, Carter Starocci, and Josh Barr. Josh Barr upsetting Jacob Cardenas in the 197 semifinal to get to the championship for a rematch with Iowa's Stephen Buchanan. Live chat is wide open, so let me know your thoughts and we'll have a conversation together. Just initial reactions. It is a mixed feeling because, yes, Luke Lillidahl, Braden Davis get the wins. Tyler Kasak gets a pin, and Penn State goes down in history as the second team to get 10 out of 10 All-Americans. And everything's kind of feeling great at that point. But then you get to the semifinal bouts. And Bo Bartlett and Jesse Mendez, 3 seconds, the difference. 3 seconds between those two. And I thought Bartlett had escaped, but Jesse Mendez dropped to the knee and ended up riding for 30 seconds, and Bartlett only had 27 seconds. Shane Van Ness was manhandled by Ridge Lovett. I appreciate the fight that he put up, but not enough when you're down, 10-0, 11-0 going into. Ridge Lovett just opened up the scoring and never looked back. 165, business as usual for Mitchell Mesenbrink, right? Major decision that was expected against Christopher Mento of Nebraska. 174. I had my reservations. Of course, I was still going to choose Levi because he's been there. He's a former champion. He's a 2-time finalist going into year 3. What's stopping him from being a 3-time finalist? Hesitation. I think that was a common theme here, where Penn State is overly aggressive. They wear their opponent down. And then in the NCAA postseason, it was kind of this general hesitation, both in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, where everything almost felt like it changed. That there was this flip of the switch, and Penn State wrestling didn't exactly look like Penn State wrestling. Even though Carter Starocci, Josh Barr, and Mitchell Mesenbrink get to the championships, aside from Starocci, I think Starocci absolutely dominated Dustin Plott. But Starocci in the quarterfinals, in the semifinals, and Josh Barr against Jacob Cardenas and Michael Beard, everybody else didn't wrestle their best. And they weren't the best versions of themselves. So it's intriguing to have that kind of thought process where, okay, yeah, some of them still got wins. They're still going to get 10 out of 10 All-Americans. But it felt like they barely crossed the finish line as it was. It was scratching. It was clawing. A lot of heartbreak, disappointment as well. I think that's how most Penn State fans are going to say that they feel walking away from this. So you can feel disappointed, but this team is still one of the best ever, whether you think so or not. Objectively speaking, they are. They had lofty expectations. Is this going to be the best team ever? Probably not, because they didn't get 6 finalists like they did a season ago. They're going to win a national title. They would need to go 3 of 3 in the finals with Starocci, Mesenbrink, and Barr, which is very much doable. I think you also got to give just a few hypothetical bonus points, not in the scoring, but for Starocci to get his 5th NCAA title. Only Division I wrestler at Penn State, only Division I wrestler in history to get 5 NCAA titles, go 5 for 5. That's on the table, and that's a part of this team too. And then getting 10 All-Americans. All of those wrestlers down in consolations could finish as high as 3rd, which is crazy to think. So should we really feel this dejected about this Penn State team that no, they didn't get as many finalists, but at the end of the day, you really have a possibility where they could get 3 individual champions and then 7 with bronze. Now those are some lofty expectations for Penn State to have a clean sweep for the remaining placement rounds, which I don't think it happens. And why I don't think it happens, part of the reason is Greg Kerkvliet is not himself. That leg injury looks serious. I was not surprised that he lost to Wyatt Hendrickson. For anybody that joined me in the live session recap for session 3 knows that I definitely had my doubts with the way that Greg had looked. He definitely gave it his all, but whatever happened in the week leading up to NCAAs, this was clearly serious. It would not shock me if he does not compete in these final 2. Maybe he's good to go. Maybe he sees the trainer, maybe he sees Dan Monthly and goes through the evaluation and he can still finish and wrestle and maybe he gets 3rd. Even on one leg, I still think he is a top 3 wrestler. However, clearly not enough to keep up with the speed of Wyatt Hendrickson. Nebraska is not catching Penn State in the team standings. Penn State has 10 wrestlers that are either going to finish 1st, 2nd, and have a chance for 3rd. Luke Lillidahl, Tyler Kasak, Braden Davis all bounce back nicely, but I can understand that when there were 9 NCAA title contenders, and that was the case. There were 9 title contenders, and most of them did fall short of expectations there. So it's this team is going to be debatable, but I think most people are going to care about how many finalists did you get? How many gold medals did you get? 10 out of 10 All-Americans. It's the quantity of this team. This team was so deep up and down the lineup. That's why they dominated every single dual meet. That's why they were winning 8, 9, 10 matchups. But then when it came to the tournament race, that's where things kind of corrected themselves. Levi Haines against Dean Hamady. I don't want to make any excuses. That is a match that he should win. Dean Hamady got an early takedown. Do you notice the common theme is whoever got that first takedown ultimately won? Nobody was really coming back. So you can rattle them off. Wyatt Hendrickson gets the first takedown. Josh Barr gets the first takedown. Gets the first takedown against Cardenas. And then you're playing catch up. You're playing from behind. Levi Haines. He attempted shot attempt after attempt after attempt. And I thought he was going to get one across, and he was just never able to finish. Dean Hamady had really good defense, was just too much height, too much height for Levi Haines to get through on defense. Mitchell Mesenbrink, we know that he just puts on a clinic against most opponents. Okay, so there's really nothing to think about there. And aside from Bo Bartlett and Jesse Mendez, nobody had a takedown there, right? But Jesse Mendez definitely seemed like the aggressor. But that was the common theme across the board for any of these Penn State wrestling matches over the course of today. For the most part, you get that first takedown and you get it really early, you were probably going to win. Josh Barr can attest to that, and so can the wrestlers that ended up on the losing side of things. So Penn State, it really is intriguing. I want to get an updated team standings as well because Penn State was still in first from the last update, but I want to also get another official update, and it looks like I'm trying to go off of Flow Wrestling and don't have anything at the moment. So if anyone can update the team standings in the live chat so that we can make an assessment of how they can do tomorrow, because if you have 7 third-place finishers, that's going to count for something and very well might push that team score close to 172.5. But Nebraska came and showed out. Oklahoma State getting a couple people to the finals as well. So there's definitely a little more competition. Let's take this a step further. Is Penn State's dynasty coming to an end? Because there were a few comments like that Penn State's dynasty is over, and 10 All-Americans, another NCAA title, 12th title for Cale Sanderson. I have no idea how you can say that, but people are trying to make that argument. We'll discuss that and jump into the live chat coming up next here on this live edition of Locked On Nittany Lions. Today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. We're all about the stats because numbers do not lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada PRO-4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team, plus the gear wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada PRO-4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro-4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro-4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. That is nissanusa.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling like you lost that hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, and sometimes you need a little boost to power through all of it. Whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament, and whether that's men's and women's basketball, or if that's March Madness, squeezing in, or you're squeezing in around a golf after work, or you're just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up wherever you need it. The madness is here, as it is March, and everyone's been staying up late to watch all of this tournament action. 5-Hour Energy will help you keep up with the next day. Extra daylight means extra activities. If you enjoy the outside, if you like to go for hikes, if you like to go for jogs, you can get a quick boost from 5-Hour Energy and the on-the-go convenience. So whether you're at a game, you're at a sporting event, you're traveling, you have activities going on, 5-Hour Energy is easy to grab and will keep you feeling refreshed. Head over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors from watermelon to blue raspberry and peach mango. And you can even build your own 12 or 24 pack delivered right to your door. Do you need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are truly everywhere. You can stock up today and stay energized with 5-Hour Energy. Okay, so we got a debate to get through, but I do want to show appreciation for everyone's patience in the live chat. Penn State will be favored in 2 of the 3 finals. I hate to say it, the way things have went, Penn State could win the title without a champion. That's actually how Minnesota in 2001 did it. They did not have a finalist. They didn't have a single finalist. They didn't have which means they didn't have an individual champion. They had a few third place finishers. They had 10 out of 10 All-Americans, and they're etched in history. So is this Penn State team. Happy for 10 All-Americans, but also shocked with only 3 finalists. Yep, there it is. So the best case scenario from here on out is 3 champions and 7 third place finishers. Well, there's no debate. This isn't the best team regardless of who wins. No, this is not the best team, but this is a historic team. I think 2024, wearing the championship shirt, still stands alone. So what happens though if they happen to, I don't know how it would work because I don't have the updated standings in front of me just yet. I want to get that for everybody, because everyone deserves to know. This is at last update from Flow Wrestling. Penn State had 128.5 points. Nebraska had 101.5. Oklahoma State had 84. Now, a lot changed. That was as of 10:30, but then Josh Barr got through. That was after 184 pounds. So Josh Barr became a finalist, and then Wyatt Hendrickson defeated Greg Kerkvliet. So there was that as well. So the team standings are definitely going to look a little different. Nebraska has 3 finalists. Penn State has 3 finalists, and we'll see how that result shakes out ultimately. Placements are absolutely going to be huge because that's how the team standings go. So if they continue to win and maybe they'll get some bonus points in the process. We can start to go through some of those matchups as well, just so everybody's familiar. So this is what tomorrow looks like as of right now. At 125, Luke Lillidahl will wrestle the 3-seed Eddie Ventresca, Virginia Tech. Braden Davis, who is the 8th seed, will wrestle the 14-seed, surprising one, Zan Fugit of Wisconsin, really went on a run at this tournament. Bo Bartlett is going to wrestle Josh Coderhant of Navy. He is the 4-seed. Van Ness is going to wrestle Ethan Stiles of Oregon State, the 12-seed at 149. K-Sac, well, I was right about that. K-Sac and Shapiro were going to wrestle at some point, and they are wrestling in consolations. Mesenbrink's going up against Mikey Caliendo of Iowa. So once again, kind of like Bartlett versus Mendez, except they were trading wins back and forth. It's been all Mitchell Mesenbrink since Mikey Caliendo and him started this rivalry. Levi Haines will go up against Simon Ruiz of Cornell. Carter Starocci will go up against Parker Kakaisen of Northern Iowa. Josh Barr will go up against Stephen Buchanan of Iowa, and Greg Kerkvliet will go up against Colton Schultz of Arizona State if he does happen to wrestle. I would not be surprised if Kerkvliet injury defaults, and that's just based on the eye test. That's not any insider information at this time. I will see what I can find out in the meantime, of course, but I feel so bad for Kerkvliet just being his last season, of course, and that's not how you want to end things. He certainly was the second best wrestler when healthy, but there's a lot of factors that go into that. Yeah, I think this is perfectly put. Mixed emotions describe this best. I am torn. So happy that Penn State earned 10 out of 10 All-Americans. Happy for Mitch, Carter, and Barr, but super disappointing for Lightning Luke, Bo, Shane, Tyler, Levi. Are these okay feelings? Are we spoiled fans? If I had to answer the side, I think it is. I mean, these are legitimate feelings. I think I feel that way. I think most people feel that way, but there is kind of a spoiled part to it that Penn State becomes the second team in history to get 10 out of 10 All-Americans. Everybody is still wrestling. Everybody, think about that for a moment. Penn State's never even had that. It's not like another couple other Cale Sanderson teams. Well, they had 10 out of 10 All-Americans. Even the ones that you could argue were legendary in their own right with how many finalists they've all kind of had their different qualities. 5 individual champions, 6 finalists, but they fall short of 5 individual champions. They set the points record. Now they have 10 out of 10 All-Americans. They all have one of each accolade. They don't all do it at once. And that's what makes this so interesting for Penn State wrestling, because they keep trying to achieve these lofty goals. It's not about okay, this is a good pivot into, is the Penn State dynasty over? Is this it for the Penn State dynasty? And that's an overreaction, because they got 10 out of 10 All-Americans, but this is the end of Penn State and Cale Sanderson's reign. This is it. It's over. They're still going to win an NCAA team title here. In reality, they could, in a perfect world, obviously the perfect world going into the NCAA tournament never happened, but they could have 3 champions and 7 third-place finishers. Does that have an argument to be one of the best teams in history? Well, it's bronze compared to gold. I don't know. I would need to see how the NCAA scoring is, but that would still go down as one of the best teams in history. I think 2024 stands all alone. That 2024 team we saw last season with 4 individual champs, 6 finalists, 172.5 points, 8 All-Americans, they have the case to be the best team ever. But it does get a little more intriguing. It does get a little more intriguing when, if they were to get 3 champions, if they were to get 7 third-place finishers, there's not much to be upset about. So there is an element of being spoiled here, is that Penn State doesn't get 7 finalists and somehow the dynasty is completely over. I think that's what Cale Sanderson and Penn State have done at this point. This is what Cale Sanderson has built, is that they miss out on 1 or 2 recruits. They miss out on a few finalists that they were expected to get. And everything's coming to an end and everything's crumbling. They're going to be right back at the top and probably be ranked number 1, despite losing Carter Starocci, Bo Bartlett, and Greg Kerkvliet going into next season. Luke Lillidahl is back. Josh Parr is back. Mitchell Mesenbrink, Shane Van Ness, Tyler Kasak. They are all back. They get Marcus Blaze in the process. Levi Haines is back. Zach Ryder will probably move into that 184. I think the only question mark is really heavyweight. Every other weight class is taken care of next year, where they have, once again, a chance to have 10 out of 10 All-Americans, depending on what they do at heavyweight. So I'm looking too far ahead now, but the dynasty is not over. That's to answer that question directly. The dynasty is not over, and it will keep going on. But the biggest threat is in Iowa. It is Nebraska. I got Mark Madden over there at Nebraska. They had an excellent tournament. And Oklahoma State really did. David Taylor, people said that David Taylor failed in his first year as a head coach there. No, absolutely not. First year head coach, that's impressive to jump this. that kind of had it loose expectations to finish top 5, they very well could. Maybe they finish in second. Nebraska has a comfortable lead. So, but those were Oklahoma State, I think, performed above expectations. Nebraska performed above expectations. Penn State fell below expectations, but still hit some of the targets in the process. Well, we got some matchups to preview. We'll get back into the live chat as well in this live show. So thank you so much for spending a late Friday night here with me on Locked On Nittany Lions. Another break, and when we come back, let's talk about those championship bouts. Carter Starocci going for 5. I think that's something that's getting lost here in the conversation. Carter Starocci is going for a 5th NCAA title. We're going to talk about that. Josh Barr and Mitchell Mesenbrink on the other side of this break. And today's show is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing money, you start building wealth. You'll get surprising insights. I've actually started using Monarch for myself, and I realized just how much money was going to certain things like package deliveries or eating out. And now I get to budget smarter and I get to save more. It's the all-in-one convenience. So instead of juggling multiple different apps, you can use Monarch to track your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. You'll have easy collaboration going forward. Managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all of the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Home stretch of this live show. Again, I really appreciate everyone spending late Friday night with me here on Locked On Nittany Lions. Got to start with Carter Starocci. We'll go to, how about we go to Mitchell Mesenbrink and then finish with Josh Barr, because Josh Barr defeating Jacob Cardenas like that wasn't shocking, but Barr's toughness, his tenacity, having to injury default at Big Tens, that goes a long way. And the wrestlers that you defeated along the way, Trey Munoz, it was a former 4-time All-American, finished 3rd place at 184 a year ago. You truly went through the gauntlet, and then absolutely boat race Michael Beard once again for the 2nd time, and then you're in control from start to finish. It isn't a late 3rd period barrage. You were in control from start to finish, and same thing against Jacob Cardenas. You were in control. You didn't go to sudden victory. Yes, it went down to the wire, but Barr was the one that all he had to do was just waste time and ultimately won. Carter Starocci, though, is going for an unprecedented 5th NCAA title. It is also unprecedented that he's made a 5th finals appearance. He is a 5-time finalist. Think about that for a moment. And I know that the circumstances, because of what they were with COVID, that's the reason this opportunity presented itself. But do we know how many other people maybe would have won that 5th title to go 5 for 5 like that to get to the finals alone? Starocci now has a chance to do that, going up against Parker Kerkvliet. Did everybody else see that other match? I imagine you did. If you're watching the main cast or watching the Matt cast like I did, because I have enjoyed listening to Shane Sparks and Trent Hidley. But besides that point, Parker Kerkvliet and Max McAnally went into sudden victory like Starocci and McAnally did. McAnally is special. He might be the favorite going forward at 184. But that scramble at the end, McAnally looked like he had Kerkvliet. Kerkvliet rolled through and somehow ended up getting behind McAnally, and that's just the difference in experience. That is the only thing that held McAnally back from not only defeating, the talent is there, the wrestling wit is there, but the experience that Starocci and Kerkvliet have were simply the difference at that point in time. McAnally special and should be the favorite going forward. But now Starocci and Kerkvliet. Part 2, NWCA All-Star Classic doesn't count for this season. I know that they met. It's a scrimmage. Carter Starocci is 1-0 against Kerkvliet this year. That one went to sudden victory. I would not be surprised if this one goes to tiebreaker. This is also going to be the main event. This is going to be the last match. They are going to finish with 184, and that's the NCAA tournament. Would be smart to do that at Wells Fargo Center. There isn't, now this is a coin flip. I am confident that Starocci is going to do the same thing that he did last time against Kerkvliet, where you win by, you're the aggressor. You have, I think Starocci, now I think Kerkvliet maybe has the edge when it comes to overall strength, but Starocci's more agile. I think he's a little quicker than Kerkvliet. But as Kerkvliet showed, that pure strength that got it done against Max McAnally, that's what he brings to the table every time. But there is not much that separates these two. It is truly a coin flip. The difference here in this matchup, though, is Starocci is going to be dealing with an immense amount of pressure. The NWC All-Star Classic it's bragging rights. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter. It's an important event. You get invited to it for a specific reason. So you better win that match because it's a one-time event every year. So that kind of, it's preseason championship, if you will. But Kerkvliet has nothing to lose. Starocci has everything to lose. Okay, yes, Kerkvliet, he could fall short and not repeat as an NCAA champion at 184 after he won a season ago against Dustin Plott. But Starocci doesn't, neither of them get another opportunity like this, but it's also the opportunity for that 5th NCAA title. Even if Starocci was going for his hypothetical 4th, for Kerkvliet to turn him away, that's the kind of pressure that Starocci is going off of. Let me flip the conversation around again. Starocci a season ago was going for, in some sort of sense, an unprecedented 4-for-4 title run, where he had to go through the likes of Mekhi Lewis, right? There were a lot of, and he ended up defeating Rocco Welsh of Ohio State there. But Starocci on a bad leg, where it was very serious. And we'll never know the true extent of that injury, but I don't know that anybody else would have been able to wrestle in Starocci's situation. And he went 4-for-4 on a bad leg. If Starocci is able to overcome that adversity, who's to say that he won't be able to handle the pressure of a 5th NCAA title? I will take Starocci. I think he's able to get it done. I do think he just finds a way. Starocci finds a way. So does Kerkvliet. But Starocci, I think, has that extra it factor that maybe Kerkvliet doesn't have there. Whatever it is, that's the it factor sometimes just makes the difference here because there's not much that separates them. Josh Barr at 197, or I promise Mitchell Mesenbrink first. Mitchell Mesenbrink at 165 against Mikey Caliendo. That one was close at Big Tens. It went down. It was 4-1. Mikey Caliendo slowed the match down, and that's what you have to do. And that's actually what Cam Amin did against Mesenbrink. So there is at least a path to defeating or at least making things interesting with Mesenbrink. Is Mesenbrink the favorite? I think Caliendo, kind of the same argument that I made for him at Big Tens. I fully expected that match to be closer. I'd maybe anticipated a little more scoring. But for Caliendo, you don't want to go punch for punch with Mesenbrink. You do want to slow things down. You do, in a sense, want to make, you just want to be difficult to force Mesenbrink to be a little more selective with his shots. So Mesenbrink Caliendo has gotten so much better as an opponent. Mesenbrink says he has the due respect for him. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily a 4-1. I think Mesenbrink will make some adjustments here, but he's still the best wrestler at 165. Caliendo is playing catch up here. I'll take Mesenbrink over Caliendo another time once again this season. And then Josh Barr against Stephen Buchanan. Barr showed me everything. Barr has proven all of my doubts and put them to the side. The hamstring injury or the leg injury, because we never really got actual, confirmation, but the leg injury that he dealt with at Big Tens, he has no ill effects there. Now, Stephen Buchanan, he did lose to him decisively. It was 5-1 the first time around. And Buchanan was, for Barr though, look at the way that Barr rode Cardenas. And, kind of playing a domino effect here. Well, Barr defeated Cardenas twice. Cardenas defeated Buchanan. So therefore, but Buchanan defeated Barr the last time around. That was a different version of Josh Barr. This is a more experienced version of Josh Barr, and he's closer to 100%. He has to be 99.9. I don't see any ill effects from that leg injury. This one is a coin flip. Naturally, I'm going to side with Buchanan because of that veteran experience, but Barr should not be counted out. He will be the underdog in that sense. My predictions haven't been the best. They've really been hit or miss here, but Penn State very well could sweep the NCAA finals here. So we'll see if that actually happens. And then in consolations, they still have everybody alive with, as I said, 10 out of 10 All-Americans. Perfect. The team stats, so the updated team standings, since I was able to get an update here, the team standings, Penn State has 135.5 points. Nebraska has 101.5. Oklahoma State has 91. So that's what the team standings look like, which is fantastic. I'm glad that we got that update. So if Penn State's able to wrestle all the way through, wrestle everybody and have all the victories there, do they push that team score? They very well could. Remember, Lilidal's going to go up against Ventresca. Davis is going to go up against Fugit of Wisconsin. Bartlett's going to go up against Coderhant of Navy. Van Ness is going to go up against Stiles of Oregon State. Kasak is going to wrestle Shapiro of Cornell. Mesenbrink is going to go up against Caliendo. Haines is going to go up against Ruiz. We know about Starocci and Kakaisen, Barr and Buchanan. Kerkvliet, hopefully he does get to wrestle. I hope he doesn't have to injury default there against Colton Schultz, because that is a win in itself. And if I'm not mistaken, I think are those, I hope everybody can correct me because I actually don't know. If those are all the fifth place, they have to win and then they advance for a third place, or is that the third place bout for most of them? I got to imagine it was. I got to imagine. Check back in on the comments because I want to include the live chat. Penn State won it all on day one. Hey, first team to go 20-0, second team to go and get 10 out of 10 All-Americans. This team hit some targets and missed on others. After Starocci goes, who is going to be the next Starocci? Brooks or Bo Nickel or Jason Nolf? Zane Rutherford, right? I don't see it. Blaze will be great. Mesenbrink, but who else? Can make the argument for Luke Lilidal. Luke Lilidal could be a 3. He should be one of the favorites going into next season for 125. Marcus Blaze, PJ Duke. Zach Ryder's in a crowded 184 class. I'd like to include Zach Ryder. Josh Barr in his first season starting is a finalist. At 197. Mesenbrink is going to be the favorite year in and year out at 165. Haynes will be a title contender next season at 174. But I know what everybody's thinking, or based on that comment, long term. Who's that 3 or 4 timer? Lilidal has a chance. Josh Barr has a chance. Josh Barr has a chance. Mesenbrink. And then PJ Duke has all the potential in the world. Marcus Blaze, all the potential in the world. So those are some of the names that come to mind. Zach Ryder will be terrific. He's certainly in that conversation. But what we've seen, you got to go with Max McAnally at this point in time. Angelo Ferrari, of course. 184 next year with Ferrari, Ryder, and McAnally is going to be fantastic. Don't forget about Rocco Welsh at 184 at Ohio State. Taylor is losing for sure. Are we talking about Antrell Taylor? I think people are going back and forth about Penn State and Nebraska too. We got Blaze coming, Ono, PJ Duke. I'm eager to see, again, because I've actually heard differently that Ono is not going to wrestle for the folk style team. He's there simply to train. He's not going to wrestle for the collegiate team. But why is he enrolled as a student? So I've heard differently that he's there simply to train for freestyle, but then why wrestle him or why have him enrolled as a student? Makes no sense to me because he was there. That was that way for Spencer Lee, didn't enroll for the Spencer Lee matchup. But yeah, Ono is a no-go, just the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. But why is he there as a student? Again, why is he there as a student? Scholarship, right? I just kind of have I hold out that maybe in 2026, 2027, because there are also some NCAA regulations that Ono just can't join the team since he's an international wrestler. He would be an international student. So I think there's some sort of, I'm not familiar with NCAA regulations. I'm just passing on what I'm hearing, that it's not just a simple, plug Ono into the lineup and have him be an instant title contender at 133, 141, whatever have you, wherever you could wrestle him just about anywhere at those light weights and he'll get the job done. So, but that's what I mean. It's a discussion that needs to unfold a little more. This isn't the end of it. So yes, we got an update on the team standings: 135.5, Nebraska 101.5. Penn State needs a heavyweight transfer. I've mentioned that. I've certainly mentioned that if Cole Mirasola is ready, best case scenario, I think, would be All-American. He was 220. He weighed in at 220, 225 in those dual meets when he filled in for Greg. And is he going to be able to put on 30, 40 pounds of good weight after? He might just need more than a redshirt season. I think he has. I think he'll be a solid contributor, but we'll go from there. That's going to be that's an uphill battle. That's a tall task for Cole Mirasola, but Greg Kerkvliet did the same thing. That was a 197 pounder that ultimately turned into a heavyweight. So it can be done. Is Penn State clinched? I don't think they are, actually. There hasn't been any announcement that they've won the team title, so they are not clinched, but they certainly have a comfortable lead of 30 plus points. I'm just trying to see if there's any last second updates, because I have Flo pulled up. If Flo's going to update anything, see if there are any other updates on consolations. Thank you so much for the comments. PJ Duke reminds me of Haines. PJ Duke is, he's the top rate. Him and Marcus Blaze were 1A and 1B, and they got them in one class, in the class of 2025. Penn State had too much hype, and it was a reality check. That's the conclusion, right? Mixed feelings. They did have too much hype. They did disappoint, but they still picked up historical accolades on the way. So you can't say that they were bad or that the dynasty's ending. This team's still going to win an NCAA title. It's going to be Cale Sanderson's 12th, but they're bad. They're bad. Or that they disappointed. I think individually they disappointed, and as a team, because they still checked all those boxes. But for Luke Lillidahl as a 1 seed, I know he's a true freshman, but he's a world champion. That was my expectation, that he was definitely going to make the final. He looked like the best wrestler and just didn't have enough. Levi Haines is a 2-time finalist. So I think that Haines should have made it. Lillidahl, Kasak, there were just individual that lead to the overall team score, but individual disappointments where Kasak was a favorite. Haines was one of the favorites. I would not be surprised if Dean Hamady actually defeats Keegan O'Toole and gets revenge tomorrow. Dean Hamady looked the part of an NCAA champion. But Lillidahl should have been there. Yep. Only idiots talk some dumb stuff like that. This dynasty is far from over. But Oklahoma State and Nebraska, they've certainly strengthened themselves. Oklahoma State makes this extremely intriguing. We're going to have some fun debates about this because revenue sharing gets involved, and Penn State and Oklahoma State are not going to be afraid to spend money to continue to build out the program. You have scholarship changes, right? Penn State doesn't shell out NIL deals, but they have some of the strongest supports, financial support to the program overall. Penn State's actually the biggest spender. I see another one. Transfer portal, get a heavyweight. Because Cole Mirasola might not be ready. And I'm not against Penn State going to the transfer portal to get a grad senior or somebody with one more year of eligibility if they're an All-America caliber wrestler, and see if you can get the most out of them, maximize them for one season. They did that with Bernie Truax. I'm not against that at all. That might be the way to go. So the team could be the best if they break the score record. It's on the table. I really do think it is. I think Penn State would need close to a 90% win rate here going into tomorrow. But if you have everybody take top 3, close to it, Maybe you have one or a couple fourth place finishers. Let's go over these matchups again really quickly, because I do have to wrap up. This has been a lengthy live show, but I'm so glad that we're after midnight, so got to wrap it up. Got to go get some sleep for tomorrow, because consolations begin at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Again, they pick back up. Lilidal and Ventresca, toss up. I don't have Braden Davis against Zan Fugit of Wisconsin. That's a toss up, but Davis continues to impress me with some of the victories that he's racked up in consolations. Davis has fought tooth and nail to get to the All-America podium. Bo Bartlett against Josh Codenhart. Look, that's the 4 seed, and with the way that it's Jesse Mendez, man. Losing to Jesse Mendez is not something. He didn't get upset by anybody, but I know how exhausting that can feel to just kind of just go back and forth and never be able to catch Jesse Mendez unless it's in the regular season where it doesn't matter as much. Shane Van Ness should win against Ethan Stiles of Oregon State. Tyler Kasak and Meyer Shapiro, we get to see that one settled, but that's a coin flip. Meyer Shapiro didn't look as good. See, Antrell Taylor beats Meyer Shapiro convincingly, and Kasak pins Antrell Taylor. Levi Haines against Simon, again, went over Mesenbrink and Caliendo. Haines and Simon Ruiz of Cornell. I would like to think that Haines wins and takes 3rd place. I would like to think that Greg Kerkvliet, who's beaten Colton Schultz in the past, would be able to win and take 3rd place, right? So outside of, I would say 125, 133. So Braden Davis, I think, still has to wrestle through to get I think that's for the 5th place match. I think that's what that would be. So the team score record, so I say the team score record is 172.5. They are currently at 135.5. But if all 10 of them win, what's to say? You rack up the points and you get really close to that score. I think that's where we have to wrap it up. Went well over time. It's after midnight. I really appreciate each and every one of you for joining this live show, for being active in the live chat, being a part of the conversation, and the support on this YouTube channel. Really, or the support on the podcast overall. If you're not already, if you're new to the show, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcast to stay up to date with not only Penn State wrestling, Penn State football, Penn State men's basketball. We'll have more live shows on the way after the final couple of sessions, after consolations and after the championship bouts, the actual gold medal matches that will happen at 7. So 11 a.m. is when the first start for the pickup for when we pick up in consolations, and then 7 p.m. on, well, it's Saturday now. It's Saturday, March 22nd. So today. But that's what to expect. That is what is to be expected here on the show. Coming up next on Locked On Nittany Lions. Again, appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great rest of the night. Penn State makes history, gets 10 out of 10 All-Americans. Carter Starocci's going for a 5th NCAA title. But they do fall short of expectations in that semifinal round. We'll get to talk about it more all tomorrow here on Locked On Nittany Lions.